HP. Thinkers are great, but doers change the world.
Oscar Pistorius is a man with a dream. The South African runner intends to compete in the 2012 Olympics against the best two-legged athletes in the world. Born without calf bones, Pistorius runs with a flexible carbon fiber cheetah flex foot, one on each leg, in fact. He's so fast that he was temporarily banned from competing by the International Association of Athletics Federations, the IAAF, who said Pistorius' carbon blades gave him a mechanical advantage over able-bodied runners.
Basically, they said it was a 34% advantage based on the fact that I used 34% less oxygen. It was a worry for me because that was always a dream of mine to make it out to the Olympic Games.
When he learned he would be banned from competing in the Olympics, Pistorius turned to MIT professor Hugh Hare for help.
I thought, he'd probably be one of the best guys to get involved because he is an avid sportsman himself. He's got one of the best minds when it comes to biomechanics in the world.
Biomechanically, they tested the forces that he applies on the ground and his various motions and claimed that his prosthesis was giving him more energy, a greater energy return with each step than was being supplied by the human foot-ankle complex.
Professor Hare and his team looked at the mechanics of Oscar's gait, specifically how much force exerts on the ground with each step.
And we found that those forces were lower than is typical for an intact runner. Because of the passive nature of the running prosthesis, Oscar and other runners with this form of leg amputation are not able to generate high forces on the ground.
In other words, he didn't have an advantage. Hugh Hare is doing more than testing prosthetics. In the biomechatronics group at MIT's Media Lab, he is literally merging man and machine.
We're first developing mathematical descriptions of human walking and running, and we're using those descriptions to advance prosthetic limbs and wearable exoskeletons that use synthetic structures to emulate biological limb function. So we're building feet and ankle and knee and hip systems that behave like biological limbs.
Professor Hare envisions a world where prosthetics don't just replace limbs, but can also enhance them.
The exciting markets are exoskeletons, robots that are worn in parallel to a human limb. So I envision a future that when you walk down the street, you commonly see people wearing robots. Why? Because they want to protect their knees and hips, or maybe they already have a knee injury or a hip injury, and they want to continue to go out jogging or hiking.
Hare's vision comes from personal experience. While still in his teens, the avid rock climber got lost in a New Hampshire blizzard.
I was in a tragic mountain climbing accident and suffered frostbite to my lower limbs. My doctor had to amputate my legs below my knees. So from a very early time, I've been designing prosthetic limbs. These machines that will enable me to climb mountains again, to run, to walk, to do everything I want to do.
He returned to advance ice and rock climbing using specialized artificial legs. And now he's pushing the envelope again, developing robotic systems that link up to a person's nervous system and mimic a limb's natural movements.
For the most part, today's leg prostheses are passive devices. When the foot's in contact with the ground, they behave like passive spring structures. They just store and release energy. The devices we're developing are fully adaptive. They have many microprocessors, many sensors. They detect what the terrain is, whether it's a slope or steps, and they modulate how stiff they are, their resistance, how much power they provide. So we're actually developing transportation devices.
Really powerful muscle there. Excellent.
Been working on it.
It looks fabulous.
At Hanger Prosthetics and Orthotics in North Carolina, Kevin Carroll fits amputees with the latest artificial limbs on the market.
After a person loses a limb, obviously it's devastating for both the individual and their family members. When they come into our office and they see other people like them up walking already, it's very inspiring for them.
In its offices around the country, Hanger sees more than 650,000 patients every year, like Tyler Wells.
All right, you ready to go running?
Let's do it.
All right, well, I'm excited, right? It looks like you're doing really good. I love it. Give me some of those good old jumpy shots here. Oh, that's good. I think you're ready to run. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Oh, look at that. I love it. That is so good. That's confidence right there.
Hanger makes many of its prosthetics on site, customizing legs or arms for its patients. Diabetes is the leading cause of amputation among civilians. But for soldiers at war, like Staff Sergeant Heath Calhoun, it's a different story.
I was serving with the 101st Airborne Division over in Mosul, Iraq, when a rocket-propelled grenade came into the rear of the truck that I was in and took both of my legs above the knees.
Calhoun is one of the 1,200 American military service personnel who have lost limbs in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past 8 years.
At first, when I lost my legs, I thought things were going to be easy until I put on prosthetics. It really gave me a real wake-up call as to what my life was going to be like as a disabled person. I struggled with prosthetics for about 2.5 years, trying to learn to walk, all while spending the majority of my day in a wheelchair.
That changed almost overnight after Sergeant Calhoun was fitted with a flexible socket and a microprocessor that measures his gait 50 times a second, making adjustments in real time when he steps on a rock, for instance, or starts to stumble.
You want help? No. Oh, he doesn't.
Calhoun is a lifelong athlete with a competitive drive.
I'll never be as happy as I'm going to be until I've won everything and I'm 10 seconds faster than everybody else.
At the 2010 Winter Paralympic Games in Vancouver, Sergeant Calhoun was chosen by his peers to carry the U.S. flag, and then competed in the men's sitting slalom, the Super G race, and the Super Combine.
Skiing is a very fun sport for me because it's something that I can do in a monoski competitively. I can also do it free skiing or powder skiing like we're getting a beautiful day of today.
I believe in the twilights of this 21st century, because of advances in human-machine interaction, we will largely see an elimination of human disability.
As a result of Professor Hare's findings, the ban on Pistorius was lifted. He's now training for the 2012 Olympics in London.
You know, I've been given a great talent, and it'd be a waste to not use it.
Coming up next, the stadium Pistorius hopes to compete in is already under construction in London. It is the brainchild of an innovative architecture firm based in the Midwest that has designed a cutting-edge complex for the 2012 Olympics and beyond.
The idea of really approaching the building in its afterlife right from the beginning is really the Innovators' move for London.